ॐ श्रीकृष्ण शरणं मम गोपिका जीवनस्मरणं गोविन्दा गोविन्दा सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। शुक्लांभरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। नमो नमः सद्गुरुभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो नमः सद्गुरुभ्यो नमो नमः। सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रय विनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। यं प्रव्रजन्तमनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरह कातर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुः तं सर्वभूतहृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि। यस्वानुभावमखिलश्रुतिसारमेकम् अध्यात्मदीपमतितितीर्षतां तमोन्धं संसारिणां करुणयाः पुराणगुह्यं तं व्याससूनुमुपयामि गुरुं मुनीनां। योगीन्द्राय नमस्तस्मै शुकाय ब्रह्मरूपिणे संसारसर्पदष्टं यो विष्णुरातमहूमुचत् कालव्यालमुखग्रास त्रासनिर्नाशहेतवे श्रीमद्भागवतं शास्त्रं कलौकीरेण भाषितम् एतस्मादपरं किञ्चित् मनःशुद्ध्यै न विद्यते जन्मान्तरे भवेत् पुण्यं तदा भागवतं लभेत्। ज्ञानवैराग्यसम्पूर्णान् हरिभक्तिपरायणान् पूर्वाचार्यात् अहं वन्दे सम्प्रदायप्रवर्तकान्। भगवन्नाम साम्राज्य लक्ष्मी सर्वस्वविग्रहं श्रीमद्बोधेन्द्रयोगीन्द्र देशिकेन्द्रम् उपास्महे। कलिकालोचितं धर्मं नाम संकीर्तनात्मकं निर्णेतुमवतीर्णं तं प्रेमिकं सद्गुरुं भजे। हरे रामेति कृष्णेति नाम संकीर्तनं सदा लोकक्षेमाय कुर्वन्तं प्रेमिकं सद्गुरुं भजे। जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयात् इतरतश्चार्तेष्वभिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि धर्मः प्रोज्झितकैतवोऽत्र परमो निर्मत्सराणां सतां वेद्यं वास्तवमत्र वस्तु शिवदं तापत्रयोन्मूलनं श्रीमद्भागवते महामुनिकृते किं वा परैरीश्वरः सद्यो हृद्यवरुध्यते प्रकृतिभिः शुश्रूषिभिस्तत्क्षणात् निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं शुकमुखात् अमृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुकाः। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। श्रीमद्भागवताख्योऽयं प्रत्यक्षः कृष्ण एव हि स्वीकृतोऽसि मया नाथ मुक्त्यर्थं भवसागरे। मनोरथो मदीयोऽयं सफलः सर्वथा त्वया निर्विघ्नेनैव कर्तव्यो दासोऽहं तव केशव। श्रीहरये नमः श्रीहरये नमः श्रीहरये नमः। गोपिका जीवनस्मरणं गोविन्दा गोविन्दा। Welcome everyone. So I think today we were just going to review from 29 of the 5th chapter, right, till about 7 of the 6th chapter, right? So I think each one can do about
up to 7.
Yeah, I think each one can do about 10, I believe. Let me just see here. Okay. So maybe Sindhuji, if you're able to do, you can do one half. Otherwise, I can give it to somebody else. And then Revati, can you do one half?
Okay, I can start. Am I starting first?
Yeah, you can start, Revati. That's fine. So நீங்க வந்து 20 we stopped
29th.
at 29 to 38 பண்ணுங்க. 29 to 38. Okay.
Yeah, I can do the next
तस्यैवं
one.
मे अनुरक्तस्य प्रश्रीतस्य हतैन सह श्रद्धदानस्य बालस्य तान्तस्यानुसरस्य च ज्ञानं गुह्यतमं यत् साक्षात् भगवतोतितम् अन्वोचन् कमिष्यन्तः कृपया दीनवत्सलाः येनैव
second anvavochan oru va
अन्वोचन्
yeah correct
अन्ववोचन् कमिष्यन्तः कृपया दीनवत्सलाः येनैवाहं भगवतो वासुदेवस्य वेतसः मायानुभावम् अवितं येन गच्छन्ति तत्पदम्
abhidam kapram pause okay if you're pausing
मायानुभावम् अवितं येन गच्छन्ति तत्पदम् एतत् संसूषितं ब्रह्मन् तापत्रयचिकित्सितं यत् ईश्वरे भगवती कर्म ब्रह्मणि भावितम् आमयो यश्च भूतानां जायते येन सुव्रत तत् एव ह्यामयं द्रव्यं न पुनादि चिकित्सितम् एवं नृणां क्रियायोगाः सर्वे संश्रुतिहेतवः त एवात्मा विनाशाय कल्पन्ते कल्पिताः परे यत्तत्र क्रियते कर्म भगवत्परिदोक्षणं ज्ञानं यत्तत् अधीनं हि भक्तियोगसमन्वितं कुर्वाणा यत्र कर्माणि भगवत् शिक्षया सकृत् गृह्णन्ति गुणनामानि कृष्णस्यानुस्मरन्ति च नमो भगवते तुभ्यं वासुदेवाय धीमहि प्रद्युम्नाय अनिरुद्धाय नमः संकर्षणाय च
second line la pradyumnayani ruddhaya and then
प्रद्युम्नाय अनिरुद्धाय नमः संकर्षणाय च इति मूर्त्यपितानेन मन्त्रमूर्तिम् अमूर्तिकं यजते यज्ञपुरुषं स सम्यक् दर्शनः पुमान् इमं स्वनिगमं ब्रह्मन्
and you can stop there yeah so either you can say it that 38 second and you can either say it completely or if you want to pause it will be after yajna purusham the yajate yajna purusham
samyuk darshanah puman
yeah okay.
Rajesh, quick question.
Doubt.
Ah.
So that Namo Bhagavate Tubhyam Kapram pause irukilya.
Ama. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean all of this, like you said, right, is if you want to, you say the whole line together if you are comfortable saying it. If you want to, if you're not able to say the whole line together, then wherever we decided to put the pause, you pause there, right?
Yeah, there is a pause irukku na edo or speed la poiten.
Yeah, in the flow la poiten. So after that tubhyam there is a pause there, right? That's okay.
Yes.
Sure, quick question. 32 la வந்து யதீஸ்வரே பகவததானே இருக்கு பகவதி சொல்லணுமா
பகவதின்னு இருக்கு
yeah short
பகவதின்னு எழுதிக்கணும் பகவதா கிடையாது
இல்ல பகவதி short e okay all right Sindhuji can just continue from 39
imam sunigamam brahman avetyamadhanushthidam adatme jnanamaishwaryam swasmin bhavam jakeshavah त्वमप्यत प्रसृत विसृतं विभोः समाप्यते येन विदां बुभुल्सितम् आख्याहि दुःखैर्मुहुरर्दितात्मनां संक्लेश निर्वाणमुशन्ति नान्यथा इति श्रीमद्भागवते महापुराणे पारमहंस्यां संहितायां प्रथमस्कन्धे व्यासनारद संवादे पञ्चमोऽध्यायः अधः षष्ठोऽध्यायः सूत उवाच एवं निशम्य भगवान् देवर्षेर्जन्म कर्मज भूय पप्रजत्तं ब्रह्मन् व्यास सत्यवती सुतः व्यास उवाच भिक्षुभिर्विप्रवसिते विज्ञानादेष्टृभिस्तव वर्तमानो वयस्याद्ये ततः किमकरोत् भवान् स्वायम्भुवकया वृत्या वर्तितं ते परं वयः कथं चेदमुदस्राक्षीः काले प्राप्ते कळेबरं प्राकल्पविषयामेदां स्मृतिं ते सुरसत्तम न ह्येष व्यवधात् कालः एष सर्वनिराकृतिः नारद उवाच भिक्षुभिर्विप्रवसिते विज्ञानादेष्टृभिर्मम वर्तमानो वयस्याद्ये तद एतदगारशम् एकात्मजा मे जननी योषिन्मूढा च किङ्करी मय्यात्मजेनन्यगतौ चक्रे स्नेहानुबन्धनम् सा स्वतन्त्रा न कल्पासीद् योगक्षेमं ममेच्छति ईशस्य हि वशे लोको योषादारुमयी यथा अहं च तद्ब्रह्मकुले ऊषिवांस्तदपेक्षया दिग्देशकालाव्युत्पन्नो बालकः पञ्चहायनः.
I think we stopped at 7. I don't know where we ended, 7 or 8, but that's okay. Yeah.
I have marked until 8.
8. Okay. All right. That's fine. Okay. So we'll continue. So what we'll do is, let's see, in 15 minutes, I'll kind of tell the story of the 6th chapter, and then we'll do the learning. And then if there's anything left, I'll continue with the story after, right? So kind of in the last, in the 5th chapter, we kind of saw how Narada comes to Vyasa and then he starts answering his questions, right? He says, I know what the problem is. And then he gives Vyasa, his feedback. And also he starts telling his own story, right? Of what happened with him when he was a small boy, how he met those sages, and then how eventually with them, he came to the realization that how, that he and the Lord are no different. And then most importantly, he says, before the sages left, after the Chaturmasyam, they actually gave him that Jnanam Guhyatamam. They gave him the most secret or the most confidential of the supreme knowledge about who Brahman is. And he says, from that point, he says that I was able to truly understand it, right? And then because he also was, with them for like 4 or 5 months, he said that I totally came to understand that the devotion to the Lord first has to start with the devotion to the approved devotees of the Lord. And from there, you get much closer to it. And he also says that all activities, which kind of we already know, all the activities that you're doing, the same activities which create karma for you. But if you do those activities with the intention of sacrificing it to the Lord, then the same activities will help burn those karmas, which the activities themselves are creating. And so he says, Vyasa, you know what is to be done here, Vyasa. So you write something which not only is going to satisfy the Paramatmas, but also going to help all the beings, right? That's how the 5th chapter came to an end. Now, the story is continuing, right? So because in the, it starts with Sutta Vacha, because Sutta Pauranikas is telling the story to the Saunaka Rishi and everybody else. So he's continuing the story. So after what Narada talks about his birth and everything to Vyasa, so Vyasa has a few questions, right? So because the story doesn't end here, like we said in Bhagavatam, they keep ask a question. Only if you ask a question, they go to the next step. Else that means you're not interested, right? So Vyasa asks more questions. So to Narada, so Vyasa is asking, so what did you do after those sages departed? You said that when the sages were there, you got all this knowledge, you learned all these things. The sages left, right, after the Chaturmasyam. So he says, what happened to you after, what did you do after those sages actually left, right? Because Vyasa, for him, Narada is like a guru. So he's trying to say, whatever Narada did after he came to the realization, I also want to do the same thing. So he wants to understand what happened in Narada's life. That was the first question. Then he asks that, how did you attain this body that you have right now? Because this, what you're telling about, is the previous janmam of yours, right? So great, you did some things in your previous janmam after those sages left. How did you attain this body after you quit that body of yours? That's the second question. Then third question, he asks very interesting question. He says, with time, everybody forgets everything, right? We forget what happened in the last class itself. Sometimes, we don't remember what happened last Sunday. So Vyasa is asking Narada, you are talking about the previous day of Brahma. That is so many years back, right? How do you remember what happened in that day of Brahma? How is your memory still so clear that, you are able to talk about it? That's number one. The second part of it, which Vyasa kind of knows, but he's kind of re-emphasizing, is you learned all the spiritual knowledge there. You attained the level of enlightenment in there. But in this Janmam, did it all accumulate and carry over with you? Or did you have to start fresh? Right? So that is another thing, right? What happened? Because you must have left it off at some point. He says, at what point did you leave in your previous Janmam? And at what point did you pick up in this Janmam? Right? That's a question that Vyasa is asking. So these are the questions that Vyasa is asking, for which Narada is now going to continue with the story. So Narada is saying, that when the time got over, the great sages who gave me this knowledge, they all left. So he then had to, come back to his normal life, right? And he says that any time you are, you begin this, what you call initiation, right? Whenever you are initiated by some really approved devotees of the Lord, he says there will be some changes which start happening to your life, right? And these changes, he says, sometimes you may not be able to understand what those changes are, but he says association with the right devotees and the satsangam is going to bring some fundamental changes to your life, which is going to push you more closer to the God. He says you may not understand that at that point, right? But he says that is what actually happens to everybody. Then he goes on and says, and he emphasizes a few things here. The reason that is important is he says, for me, my mother was the only person. For my mother, I was the only person. So when you have only two people who are so interdependent on each other, then you're so tightly bound, right? You can't leave that person and go. Even if you want to go, you can't leave because you have only one person in your mother. Your mother also, if she has other goals in her life, she can't leave you because she knows that you are dependent on her. So he says we both were so tightly bound on each other, right? And we didn't have any close relatives anyway. And plus, she was so, she wanted to take care of me that she was not able to do anything else. So he says, I was 5 years, so I had no other choice. He was just 5 years old at the time. So he says, my mother enrolled me in a school for all the Brahmin kids. And I was just regularly going to school. And it was just me and my mother who were just taking care of each other. I had not seen anything outside of that particular circumstance, right? My mother and then the school I was going to. That's how my life was going. Then he says, one night, it says, Ekatmaja me janani, one of the stanza will come. So one night, he says, my poor mother, she was going out to milk the cow, right, at night. Because probably they'd milk twice a day, right? So she was going out to milk in the night. And then she was bit by a snake. She was bit by a snake and she died, right? So he says, no, I'm a 5-year-old. I had only my mother. But however, my mother also now was taken by the Lord, right? So at that time, nobody was there for me. So all the people of the village, they were kind of coming and saying, what a sad situation for this boy. He has absolutely nobody. His only mother, and even his mother is gone. So what will this boy do right now, right? So this is very natural, right? And if anything, even a small thing happens to us, we wonder, I'm doing so many prayers, I'm doing all these paranams. Why are these things happening to me? And why is it happening to me right now, right? But Narada doesn't think that way. He says, whatever has happened, because he's been blessed by the Bhagavatas, right? So he starts thinking, whatever has happened, this has happened only because that's what the Lord wanted it to happen, right? There's nothing I can actually do about it, right? He says, I can't change the situation that has actually happened. And he doesn't know why this happened either. So for him, his mother was the only person. His mother is also now gone. So he says, I took this as a mercy that the Bhagavan actually did to me. It was a kripai that the God is doing to me, that he wants to take my mother away. And he will only do what is good for his devotees. And I had that trust in him because that was the blessing he has received, right? So he was so confident that whatever has happened is only for my blessing. So he says, with that, he says, I left everything I had, which was that village that he had. And he said, I started going north, right? So he kind of, once mother has died, do the last karyam and everything. Once that is done, he then starts going towards the north. And, he then says, when I was going, I went through a lot of places. It talks a few stanzas. Bhagavatam is very detailed. So it talks about, I went through other villages. I saw some cities. I saw mountains. I saw all these things where civilization were there. All of these people were there. He says, but I was just undistracted, right? I didn't want to settle down in any of these places. So when he was going, he does see a lot of people who are trying to come and help him and say, is there any way we can help you out? He says he doesn't care. He just keeps crossing everything and he just keeps going north. At one point, he reaches a place, he reaches a forest. So in that forest, he says that I then reach a river banks. And at the river bank, he says, I just decided to take some rest. I bath in that river. I drink some water from the river. I start feeling refreshed. And then he says, I sat under a tree. And then I started to meditate on the Paramatma just the way Yatha Shrutam, just the way those Bhagavatas have taught me how to meditate. So because this is extremely important, right? Because we can close our eyes and meditate whatever we want. But like we saw in Dhruva's case also, right? Because Narada instructed Dhruva how to meditate and on what form of the Lord to meditate, because of which Dhruva was able to see the Lord. Similarly, here, these Bhagavatas have taught Narada what is the procedure for meditation. What do you think about when you meditate? So he says, just the way I have been instructed, I sat under the tree and then I started meditating. He says, with that, I completely, focused my mind on the Lord. And when I started doing that meditation, over a period of time, he says, then I started falling in love with it. I started feeling a sense of love and bliss I have not seen before. He says, to the extent that my tears started coming through my eyes, and I was feeling a sense of, ecstasy, right? That's what Narada is feeling at the time. And he's a small boy only, like Dhruva. So he says, when I was beginning to have that feeling, suddenly I saw in my heart, right? I started seeing a form of the Lord. He says, Hridaya Kamalam. He says, in the lotus of my heart, I started seeing the Lord. So the thing here that is important is, when we sit and then we close our eyes and then we imagine the form of the Lord, right? We take a look at the photo and then we imagine what the form of the Lord is, and then the mind deviates, but we still kind of bring to that form of Lord. But what he's seeing here is, it's as if he's seeing somebody in person. He's seeing it in him, right? So that is a difference, right? He's not imagining the form of the Lord. He's actually seeing the form of the Lord. He's seeing the Lord himself inside. So when he sees that form of the Lord, then he's suddenly having a sense of extreme happiness, right? And he says, every part of my body, right? So our hands, my eyes, my legs, my mouth, every part of my body came to life individually, that each of them wanted to worship the Lord, because that was the feeling I was getting, because I was seeing the Lord inside me. So the moment I started seeing that, and then I wanted to do something to the Lord, he says, suddenly that form went away from my heart. I could no longer see that form inside my heart, right? So then when that happens, he says, I suddenly got distracted. He says, I get up and then I start looking around and nothing has changed, right? I don't see the Lord anywhere else as well. He says, what I do is I start then trying to get into meditation again. So in this time, what he's doing is he's trying to force himself, right, to see what happened to that form that I was actually seeing. And he does not see anything at all, because that now becomes like how we do, right? Which is we come, we sit, and then we try to force an image that we try to see. So he says, when I tried to do that kind of meditation, no matter how much I concentrate, he says, I could not see that form anymore. And he says, I tried my best and I'm not able to see that form in my heart anymore. And when that happened, he says, I became very disappointed. He says, because once you see that form of the Lord, Narada says, I did not want to do anything else. I wanted to see that form again. And I wanted to constantly keep seeing that form. But no matter how much I try, I'm not able to actually see that. So he says, when this happened, and of course, the Lord realizes this, right? That Narada is not able to see him. So Narada also comes to the realization that no matter how much you try, until Bhagavan wishes that you see that form, you are not going to be able to see that form, right? So at that point, he says, seeing the pain I was actually going through, right? He says, at that time, I heard a sound, I heard a voice, right? So Ashariri Vak means something you're hearing, but you're not able to see who is speaking, right? So he says the Lord was so much pleased with Narada that he gave him certain strength, spiritual strength, so he can actually hear what is going to be said, right, at that time. So in this thing, which was a special gift that Narada got. So in that, so Bhagavan says that Narada, or whatever his name was, then his name was not Narada then. He says, in this lifetime, he says, I regret to inform you, you will not be able to see me anymore. He says, because your service to me is not complete. You are not there at that point yet. You are not 100% free from all these material attachments and all of that stuff. You are not 100% there. So he says, because of that, you will not be able to see me in this janmam of yours. No matter how much hard you try, no matter how much effort you put, he hears a voice saying, you are not ready for it. You are not going to be able to see it. He says, I only gave you one chance to see me so that you now become more interested in me, because you're going on the right track. You're already blessed, but I wanted to increase your devotion to me. Because of that, I gave you that one chance to actually see me, so that you'll get more attached to me. And once you get more attached to me, you'll then start trying more. And he says, you have to continue the rest of your life in the same way. Only then you will be able to eventually get to me and get to see me. So that's what Narada actually hears. So then he says, once he hears that, he has clear direction. He says, okay, do not attempt to try to see me. Just continue doing what you're doing. Eventually, you're going to see me. The Lord himself has said that. So Narada says, then I stopped trying. I stopped trying to force to see the Lord in me anymore, right? So he says, with that, he was very clear what he wanted to do. And then he says, he also, and Bhagavan himself tells Narada, which is what Narada answers Vyasa's question, that all the devotion, all the work that you are actually doing and building, whether it is at the time of creation, whether it's at the time of annihilation, whatever karma you are building, whether it's good or bad, Similarly with devotion, whatever devotion you're building is not going to go away. You will continue to remember that. And especially in your case, you're going to remember it. Plus all the spiritual knowledge you are gaining, you are not going to lose it, right? When the next birth happens, you will continue to have that. So he says with this, it's not going to go in vain. So he says, even though you're not going to see me, don't quit doing what you're doing. Continue doing what you're doing, because it's all going to come to help you. So once the Bhagavan came and specifically told Narada that, he says, then I was super clear. He says, and all I did was I then began chanting the name of the Lord, because it's 5 years. He doesn't have much. He doesn't know lot of things to pray and things like that, right? He's only what he's heard in the few months when he was with those rishis. So he says, I started saying the name of the Lord. I started just talking about all the pastimes of the Lord, all the things that he's doing. And then, he then continued doing it. He says, I started traveling all over the earth, wherever I'm able to. I started traveling, just saying Nama Sankirtanam, just chanting the name of the Lord, talking about the stories of the Lord. He says, essentially he's saying that once the sincere devotee, that's what Narada is saying in a nutshell, right? He's saying that by his personal example, he's saying that such a devotee, once he's initiated, then you take it seriously, the chanting of the names of the Lord, talking about the activities and the pastimes of the Lord. And once you get more attached, then you do not get any more desires for material gain, and which Narada doesn't have anymore. So the more and more he started doing it, less and less he started having attachment to anything which is material or any benefit that he's going to get up, because he knows he's not going to be able to get anything this year. He's not going to see the Lord. He doesn't have any expectations, right? So the problem is, we all expect something to happen, and when that hasn't happened, we feel worried. In his case, it was super clear for him. I don't have to just follow the process for the rest of my life. So he says, in due course, he says, time passes. I just keep doing it for the rest of my life. And finally, he says, the time comes and he dies, right? His death comes. He says, and then I have to give up this body. And he says, the process, he says, just like how when there is a lightning that happens, and then you see the flash coming out, how there is no difference between the thunder and lightning, and then the moment you see the light flash come out, he says, exactly in the same way, I quit this body, and then I got my spiritual body. So he says there was no transition time. The moment I gave up this body of mine in that previous Janmam, he says, I then attain another spiritual body, because in Narada's case, he says all the layers which are there in our body, like, we'll see some of that when we talk through, the process of creation, and then that the Ashtanga yoga, right? When you kind of give up everything. So he says all the layers of mine, everything was given up. And he says, I just had a pure spiritual body. And then he says, at the end of that kalpa of Brahma, when everybody went into Brahma, and then Brahma went into the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, he said, along with it, I also went into Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. Then the next kalpa of Brahma, which is the current kalpa, when Brahma came out, then from Brahma's mind, which we saw this in Narayanyam, from Brahma's mind and various body came Atri, Marichi, Angirasa, all of them. He says, along with them, I also came out of the mind of Brahma, and that is this life of mine. So I just directly came from Brahma in this form, because I have already got the spiritual body, which I got at the end of my previous Janmam. It is just continuing right now. And he says, in this Janmam, he says that I have no restriction. I can travel anywhere I want in this 14 words. In these 3 words, I can travel anywhere without any restrictions. And he says, I can just think of the Lord, and I can see the Lord in my mind this time. Unlike the previous time when he was struggling. He says, at this time, I'm so devoted, I don't do anything else, and I have the blessing from the Lord that anytime I want, I can see him in this Janmam. He said, that is a blessing I've actually got. And then he says, the Lord himself has given me this instrument. Now we call it Veena. He also says it's Veena, but we cannot think of it as the regular Veena that we play. It's not a regular music, right? Because he's a spiritual being. So the music that is coming there is also a special vibration. So he's saying, he's given me this, and all I do is I go around the world just chanting the name of the Lord without any other desire in my heart and without any other restriction. So that's kind of how Narada kind of completes the story of his. And then he says that, oh Vyasa, as he's leaving, he says, continue to, get into that state of samadhi and write it, because that is the right thing you have to do. And with this chapter comes to an end. Sharp 2:30. So I think this chapter comes to an end, and Suta Pauranika then does a small stuti for Narada at the very end, saying that, let's pray to Narada, who's the closest to Bhagavan, because he has access to Bhagavan anytime. And like we'll see in a lot of the avatarams, and as even the Krishna avataram also, he knows what is going to happen in the future, because at one point, he goes and meets Krishna in Vrindavan. I think this was just before Akrura comes to pick Krishna. And then Narada says, "So Krishna, I'm so happy to see you here. I'm not going to see you anymore or till much later. And by the time I see you next time in Dwaraka, all these things you would have done. You would have gotten rid of Kamsa, you would have gone to Sandipani, you would have done all these marriages, you would have got all these wives." So he already knows. So just like when Krishna is coming in, he knows the script of the story, and Narada also knows what is going to be the script of the story. That is the level of access he has. He says, because it's not come overnight, it's come through several janmams. And his previous birth, he says, I was blessed, right? And that's why he got access to these Bhagavatas, and eventually he reached this state. So that ends the 6th chapter. Okay.
Rajeshji, does it say where Narada was originally? You mentioned he traveled north, right? So
Yeah, it doesn't say where he was. It doesn't give a place where he was. Like, I don't even know if it was in India. Like, there is no reference to any place to say where he was. It doesn't give any river name. It doesn't give any region name or anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there is also somewhere it says he was in Badri, right?
Like, he comes later on in this birth of his, he comes to all these places, like we saw in the Mahatmyam, right? But that is in this birth of his, he's coming to all those places. But in his previous birth, there's no reference as to where he is. There's only one word, it says Uttara Gatam, something will come. He just says, I'm going north. He doesn't say from where he's going north, which part of the globe he was. There's no indication or reference to that anywhere. At least it's not mentioned explicitly. Okay. All right. So today, Uma, you can be a student, and Priya Arun, you can be a student. Okay, so we'll do from 9. Ekada nirgatam gehat. So you'll have a double da and a u there. First put a it gehat, comma. Duhantim nishi gampati sarpo dashat padasprishtaha, comma. Kripanam kala choditaha. So sarpo dashat. Here is where his mother is getting bit with a snake. That's what the stanza is. Ekadha nirgatam gehate duhantim nishigampati sarpo dashat padasprishtaha kripanam kala choditaha.
एकदा निर्गतां गेहात् दुहन्तीं निशिगां पथि सर्पो दशत्पदा स्पृष्टः कृपणां कालचोदितः एकदा निर्गतां गेहात् दुहन्तीं निशिगां पथि सर्पो दशत्पदा स्पृष्टः कृपणां कालचोदितः
एकदा निर्गतां गेहात् दुहन्तीं निशिगां पथि सर्पो दशत्पदा स्पृष्टः कृपणां कालचोदितः एकदा निर्गतां गेहात् दुहन्तीं निशिगां पथि सर्पो दशत्पदा स्पृष्टः कृपणां कालचोदितः.
Tada tadaham ishasya, if you want to break it, tadaham ishasya, comma, bhaktanam shamabhipsataha anugraham manyamanaha, comma, pratishtham disham uttaram. So this is where it says disham uttaram, going north. Tada tadaham ishasya bhaktanam shamabhipsataha anugraham manyamanaha pratishtham disham uttaram.
तदा तदहमीशस्य भक्तानां शमभीप्सतः अनुग्रहं मन्यमानः प्रातिष्ठं दिशमुत्तराम् तदा तदहमीशस्य भक्तानां शमभीप्सतः अनुग्रहं मन्यमानः प्रातिष्ठं दिशमुत्तराम्
तदा तदहमीशस्य भक्तानां शमभीप्सतः अनुग्रहं मन्यमानः प्रादिष्टं दिशमुत्तराम् तदा तदहमीशस्य भक्तानां शमभीप्सतः अनुग्रहं मन्यमानः प्रादिष्टं दिशमुत्तराम्
पीतान् जन पदांस्तत्र पुर ग्राम व्रजाकरान् खेट हर्वट वाटीश्च vananyupavanani cha. So that's word you cannot break it. So vananyupavanani cha. Sphitan janapadamstatra puragrama brajakaran kheta kharvata vatischa vananyupavanani cha.
स्फीताञ्जनपदांस्तत्र पुरग्रामव्रजाकरान् खेटखर्वटवाटीश्च वनान्युपवनानि च स्फीताञ्जनपदांस्तत्र पुरग्रामव्रजाकरान् खेटखर्वटवाटीश्च वनान्युपवनानि च
स्फीताञ्जनपदांस्तत्र पुरग्राम व्रजाकरान् खेडकर्वडवाडीश्च वनान्युपवनानि च स्फीताञ्जनपदांस्तत्र पुरग्रामव्रजाकरान् खेडकर्वडवाडीश्च वनान्युपवनानि च
Rajesh, the second line vadisha vanani yubavani chan irukku.
And the vanani and upavanani, the ni and u becomes a new
In
and u. So vanan yupavanani cha. It will just, the sandhi will make it that. So vanan yupavanani cha. Okay. But it is two different words, but it always gets joined on the line.
But can we say like vadisha vanani yubavani chan sollalama?
In general, Sanskrit, they don't say it. When the ni and u comes, it becomes a new. That is the grammar rule. You know,
all
so
right.
it will become that. Chitra dhatu vichitradeen. So you have the ni there. We're going to put a in vichitradeen, comma. Next word starts with the e. Ibha bhagna bujadruman jalashayan chiva jalan. So you have a double na there. So jalashayan chiva jalan in, comma. Next word nalinihi. Nalinis surasevitaha. Okay, the two ins, we're just breaking it.
Rajesh, the first line la chitra dhatu vichitradreen potrukku.
Vichitradreen. Sorry. Dri, yeah. Vichitradreen ibhabagnaya. Chitradhatu vichitradreen ibhabhagna bujadruman jalashayan chiva jalan nalini surasevitaha.
चित्रधातु विचित्राद्रीन् इव भग्नभुजद्रुमान् जलाशयान् शिवजलान् नलिनीसुरसेविताः सरदाना
Correct.
चित्रधातु विचित्राद्रीन् इव भग्नभुजद्रुमान् जलाशयान् शिवजलान् नलिनीसुरसेविताः
चित्रधातु विचिद्धात्रीन् इव भग्नभुजद्रुमान् जलाशयान् शिवजलान् नलिनीसुरसेविताः चित्रधातु विचित्राद्रीन् इभग्नभुजद्रुमान् जलाशयान् शिवजलान् नलिनीसुरसेविताः.
See on the first line, ibha bhagna.
Okay, iba bhagna bujadruman.
Yeah. Chitra swanaif patra rataihi. So put a visarga and comma there because we are pausing. Next line on top of the vibhramat, there is a ir that goes away. So vibhramat bhramarashriyaha nala venu shara stamba, and then put a plus kusha kichaka gahvaram. So those two parts together.
ராஜேஷ் ஒரு வாட்டி ரிப்பீட் பண்ண முடியுமா அத
செகண்ட் லைனா?
ஆமா ஆமா ப்ளீஸ்.
நல வேணு ஷர ஸ்தம்ப குஷ கீச்சக கஹ்வரம். Okay,
So
those two.
stamba பக்கத்துல கமா போட்டுக்கணும் நம்ம.
Yeah, plus
அங்க
that two lines are together because he's talking about the various things he's seeing. So just put a plus after stamba. Okay, those two lines together.
Okay, perfect.
चित्रस्वनैः पत्ररतैः बिभ्रमद्भ्रमरश्रियः नलवेणुशरस्तम्भ कुशकीचकगह्वरम्
चित्रस्वनैः पत्ररथैः बिभ्रमद्भ्रमरश्रियः नलवेणुशरस्तम्भ कुशकीचकगह्वरम् चित्रस्वनैः पत्ररथैः बिभ्रमद्भ्रमरश्रियः नलवेणुशरस्तम्भ कुशकीचकगह्वरम्
चित्रस्वनैः पत्ररतैः बिभ्रमद्भ्रमरश्रियः नलवेणुश्रस्तम्भ कुशकीचकगह्वरम्. correct?
Correct. And the shara and the ra, I think you are not saying it fully because of it is not landing for you. Nalavenusharastambha.
Okay. Okay. Chitrasvanai patrarataihi vibramrashriyaha nalavenushrastamba kushakīchaka gahvaram.
And the word again, shara.
Shara.
Yeah, I think you're saying and something you're saying different in that word.
Nalavenushrastamba.
You're saying shra. It is shara stamba, two letters.
Okay, okay. Nalavenusharastamba.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Eka evati yatoham, one word. Evati yatoham, make it a im, comma. Next word is a. Adraksham vipinam mahate. Ghoram pratibhayakaram, comma. Vyaloluka shivajiram. Eka evati yatoham adraksham vipinam mahate. Ghoram pratibhayakaram. Vyaloluka shivajiram.
एक एवाति यातोऽहम् अद्राक्षं विपिनं महत् घोरं प्रतिभयाकारं व्यालोलूकशिवाजिरम् एक एवाति यातोऽहम् अद्राक्षं विपिनं महत् घोरं प्रतिभयाकारं व्यालोलूकशिवाजिरम्
एक एवाति यातोऽहम् अद्राक्षं विपिनं महत् घोरं प्रतिभयाकारं व्यालोलूकशिवाजिरम् एक एवाति यातोऽहम् अद्राक्षं विपिनं महत् घोरं प्रतिभयाकारं व्यालोलूकशिवाजिरम्
Parishrantendriyatmaham. So that's what you cannot break it. It's Parishantra Indriya Atmaham. Three different words. We have to say it together. Parishrantendriyatmaham, comma. Tut parito bhuvukshitaha. Snatva pitva hrade nadya, comma. Upasprishto gatashramah. Parishrantendriyatmaham. Tutparito bhubukshitah snatva pitva hrade nadhya upasprishto gatashramah.
Rajesh ji,
First line tutta tritta trit potu
same question.
Oh, trit parito. Sorry, what did I say?
tut
Oh, sorry, trit parito.
परिश्रान्तेन्द्रियात्माहं त्रिट्परितो बुभुक्षितः स्नात्वा पीत्वा हृदे नद्या उपस्पृष्टो गतश्रमः.
On the second line, like hrade nadhya.
Okay, na hृदय சொன்னேனா? हृदय. Okay. परिश्रान्तेन्द्रियात्माहं त्रिट्परितो बुभुक्षितः स्नात्वा पीत्वा हृदे नद्या उपस्पृष्टो गतश्रमः.
परिश्रान्तेन्द्रियात्माहं त्रिट्परितो बुभुक्षितः स्नात्वा पीत्वा हृते नद्या उपस्पृष्टो गतश्रमः. परिश्रान्तेन्द्रियात्माहं तृट्परीतो बुभुक्षितः स्नात्वा पीत्वा हृते नद्या उपस्पृष्टो गतश्रमः
Tasmin nirmanuje ranye. Say it together. It's aranye with that S symbol. So nirmanuje ranye, comma. Pippalopasta, one word. Pippalopasta astitah. So the next word, atmana atmanam. Okay, but again that S symbol is coming. So you have to kind of say that whole thing together. Atmanatmanam. Put a im, comma. The next word starts with the I again. Atmastham yathashrutam achintayam. If you want to break it, yathashrutam achintayam. So that atmanam, you put a im, and then the atmastham is the next word. Oh, sorry. After atmastham is the comma. So yathashrutam achintayam. So atmanatmanam atmastham, comma, yathashrutam achintayam. Tasmin nirmanuje pippalopasta astitah atmanatmanamatmastam yathashrutam achintayam.
तस्मिन् निर्मनुजेरण्ये पिप्पलोपस्थ आस्थितः आत्मनात्मानमात्मस्थं तथा यथाश्रुतम् अचिन्तयम् तस्मिन् निर्मनुजेरण्ये पिप्पलोपस्थ आस्थितः आत्मनात्मानमात्मस्थं यथाश्रुतम् अचिन्तयम्
तस्मिन् निर्मनुजेरण्ये पिप्पलोपस्थ आस्थितः आत्मनात्मानम् आत्मस्थं यथाश्रुतमचिन्तयम् तस्मिन् निर्मनुजेरण्ये पिप्पलोपस्थ आस्थितः आत्मनात्मानम् आत्मस्थं यथाश्रुतमचिन्तयम्
Dhyayatash charanambojam, comma, bhava nirjita chetasa outkantyashu, up to that one word, outkantyashu kalakshasya, comma, hridyasin me shanair harihi. Dhyayatash bhojam bhava nirjita chetasa outkantyashu kalakshasya hridyasin me shanair harihi.
ध्यायतश्चरणां भोजं भावनिर्जितचेतसा औत्कण्ठ्याश्रुकलाक्षस्य हृद्यासीम्ने शनैर्हरिः ध्यायतश्चरणां भोजं भावनिर्जितचेतसा औत्कण्ठ्याश्रुकलाक्षस्य हृद्यासीम्ने शनैर्हरिः
ध्यायत शरणां भोजं भावनिर्जितचेतसा औत्कण्ठ्याश्रु அங்க எப்படி சொல்லணும் ராஜேஷ் ஒரு வாட்டி
Outkantyashu kalakshasya.
கலாஷஸ்ய
Ksha sound, KSH.
औत्कण्ठ्याश्रु कलाक्षस्य हृद्यासीन्मे शनैर्हरिः ध्यायत शरणां भोजं भावनिर्जितचेतसा औत्कण्ठ्याश्रु कलाक्षस्य हृद्यासीन्मे शनैर्हरिः
Prematibhara nirbhinna, comma, pulakankoti nirvritaha. That's one word. Pulakankoti, one word. Nirvritaha. Ananda samplave lino, comma, napashyam ubhayam mune. If you want to break it, you can break it that ma. Napashyam ubhayam mune. Prematibhara nirbhinna pulakankoti nirvritaha. Ananda samplave lino napashyamubhayam mune.
हेमातिभर्निर्भिन्न पुलकाङ्गोति निर्वृतः आनन्दसम्प्लवे लीनो नापश्यमुभयं मुने प्रेमातिभरनिर्भिन्न पुलकाङ्गोति निर्वृतः आनन्दसम्प्लवे लीनो नापश्यमुभयं मुने
प्रेमादिपर निर्भिन्न पुलकाङ्घोदि निर्वृतः आनन्द संप्लवे लीनो नापश्यम् उभयं मुने प्रेमादिपर निर्भिन्न पुलकाङ्घोदि निर्वृतः आनन्द संप्लवे लीनो नापश्यम् उभयं मुने
Rupam Bhagavato Yathan, you can put a plus there, Yathan Manah Kantam Shuchapaham Apashyan Sahaso Taste, double Sahaso Taste, comma, Vaiklavyad Durmana Iva, again double there, second last word. Rupam Bhagavato Yattanmanah Kantam Shuchapaham Apashyan Sagasotaste Vaiklavya Durmana Iva.
रूपं भगवतो यत्तन्मनः कान्तं शुचापहम् अपश्यन् सहसोत्तस्थे वैक्लव्यादुर्मना इव रूपं भगवतो यत्तन्मनः कान्तं शुचापहम् अपश्यन् सहसोत्तस्थे वैक्लव्यादुर्मना इव
रूपं भगवतो यत्तन्मनः कान्तं शुचापहम् अपश्यन् सहसोत्तस्ते वैक्लव्यात् दुर्मना इव रूपं भगवतो यत्तन्मनः कान्तं शुचापहम् अपश्यन् सहसोत्तस्ते वैक्लव्यात् दुर्मना इव
Didrukshus Tadaham Bhuyah, comma, Pranidhaya Manohridi, short e, Vikshamanopi Napashyam, that im, make that ma im, comma, next word starts with the a, Avitripta Ivaturaha. Didrukshustadaham Bhuyah Pranidhaya Manohridi Vikshamanopi Napashyam Avitripta Ivaturaha.
दिदृक्षुस्तदहं भूयः प्रणिधाय मनोहृदि वीक्षमाणोऽपि नापश्यम् अवितृप्त इवातुरः दिदृक्षुस्तदहं भूयः प्रणिधाय मनोहृदि वीक्षमाणोऽपि नापश्यम् अवितृप्त इवातुरः
Rajesh, a quick question. Didirik கிடையாதா? அது விதிரிக்குன்னு சொன்னோமா?
இது first word Didrikshus.
Vidrikshus. Okay, என் புக்ல வந்து தித்ருஷுக்ஸ் அப்படின்னு போட்டிருக்கு. சோ அதனால
Didrikshus.
Okay.
Is the first letter short or long? Rajeshji?
First short Didrikshus.
Okay, okay.
दिदृक्षुस्तदहं भूयः प्रणिधाय मनोहृदि वीक्षमाणोऽपि नावश्यम् अविद्रुप्त इवातुरः दिदृक्षुस्तदहं भूयः प्रणिधाय मनोहृदि वीक्षमाणोऽपि नावश्यम् अविद्रुप्त इवातुरः.
Second time you said it correct, and the word tripta, I think first time when you were saying it was a da sound I heard. Second time you said it correct, tripta.
Tripta, okay.
Evam yatantam vijane, comma, mamaha gocharo, cannot break that word. So mamaha gocharo giram, gambira shlakshnaya vacha. So half shlakshnaya vacha, comma, shuchaf prashamayenniva. Evam hyatantam vijane mamaha gocharo giram gambira shlakshnaya vacha shuchaf prashamayenniva.
एवं यतन्तं विजने मामाहा गोचरो गिरां गम्भीरश्लक्ष्णया वाचा शुचः प्रशमयन्निव एवं यतन्तं विजने मामाहा गोचरो गिरां गम्भीरश्लक्ष्णया वाचा शुचः प्रशमयन्निव
एवं यतन्तं विजने मामाह गोचरो गिरां गम्भीरश्लक्षणया वाचा शुशः प्रशमयन्निव.
Priya, on the second line, shlakshna, and you said shlaksha, full ksha, you said, and shlakshne.
Slakšnaya.
Yeah, na is full, and the iksh is only half. Yeah.
Slakšnaya. Okay. एवं यदन्तं विजने मामाह गोचरो गिरां गम्भीरश्लक्ष्णया वाचा शुशः प्रशमयन्निव.
Hantasmin janmani bhavan, put it that after the in you can put a comma, bhavan, comma, mama drashtum iharhati avipakva kashayanam, comma, durdarshoham kuyoginam.
Rajesh, in the second line, the first word another.
Avipakva. So there's a ik and a ka. If it's Sanskrit, there's a ka and then there's a va underneath that.
Yeah, the ka fulla potrukadnala keten.
But because it's joined with the other letter, right? It becomes avipakva.
Kashaya. Okay.
Rajeshji, the first line, Bhavan, after Bhavan, is it na mom or ma mom?
Ma mom.
என்னோட்ல நமாம் போட்டிருக்கு ந
Yeah,
போட்டிருக்கு
Bible person has
Oh,
na.
okay. Ma mom. See, ma and na is sometimes very loose used in some lot of places. Ma they say, which also means na. It means the same as no. It means the same, but I think I don't know when they use ma and when they use na there. But anyway, here it's mom. So we'll stick to that.
and Rajesh and the second lineல அந்த க and word together இருக்கிறது the க is full and the word is half, is it?
No, it becomes, it's abhipakva, that's the word there.
Avipakva, okay.
Yeah, because you
In the
can't
ka
say
vanda-
avipauka, you can't, that is not the word. If you try to flip the other way, right, it won't, it's not the right word. So
No, I was going to ask, க and word separate போட்டா what is the difference
No,
versus?
then becomes avipakava, it becomes.
ஆமாம், correct, okay.
Right, so it's
Okay.
avipakva.
And then one more question if you don't mind, and the previous slokala and the half sh இருக்கு இல்லையா? Can
Yeah.
you just repeat that? How do you say that half sh?
Shlakshnaya.
Shlakshnaya. Okay, thank
If
you.
it is a full one, it'll be shlakshanaya.
Okay.
If it was a full ksha.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
Shlakshnaya. The Shlakshnaya, this word comes in Devi Matyam somewhere. Or some other place, the Shlakshnaya comes. Same word. Antasmin janmani bhavan mamam drashtumiharhatin avipakva kashayanam durdarshoham kuyoginam.
Hantasmin janmani bhavan mamam drashtumiharhati avipakva kashayanam durdarshoham kuyoginam. Hantasmin janmani bhavan mamam drashtumiharhati avipakva kashayanam durdarshoham kuyoginam.
हन्तास्मि जन्मनि भवान् मामां द्रष्टुमिहार्हति अविपक्वकषायाणां दुर्दर्शोऽहं कुयोगिनाम् हन्तास्मि जन्मनि भवान् मामां द्रष्टुमिहार्हति अविपक्वकषायाणां दुर्दर्शोऽहं कुयोगिनाम्.
Rajeshji, sorry, one more question. The ma mom, is it ma mom or ma mom?
Mamam.
Oh, okay, it's wrong. Thank you.
Sakrit yad darshitam rupam. So that may that is there, we'll break it. Rupam. Etat, comma. Etat kamaya tenaga. Mat kamash shanakais sadhuhu, comma. Sarvan munchati srichayan.
Rajesh,
Ah.
a quick question.
Hmm.
ரூபம்க்கு பக்கத்துல கமா போடணுமா ஏத்தத்து பக்கத்துல கமா போடணுமா?
Rupam, after rupam, comma. Rupam.
Okay.
Etat kamaya. Okay. Sakridyad-darshitam rupam etat kamayate nagha matkamashanakai sadhuhu sarvan munchati hrichayan.
Sakrit yad darshitam rupam etat kamayate nagha matkamashanakai sadhuhu sarvan munchati hrichayan. Sakrit yad darshitam rupam etat kamayate nagha matkamashanakai sadhuhu sarvan munchati hrichayan.
सकृद्यद्दर्शितं रूपम् एतत् कामायते नघ मत्कामशनघैः साधुः सर्वान् मुच्यति हृश्चयान्. करेक्ट सोना? सकृद्यद्दर्शितं रूपम् एतत् कामायते नघ मत्कामशनघैः साधुः सर्वान् मुच्यति हृच्छयान्.
Munchati, in sound.
Oh, sorry. Munchati.
Sadhu kinjatu visarga irka.
Sadhuhu, ama. Did you not
Okay.
say? I think she said, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So just for the previous thing, just kind of going back, I was just thinking, right? So if you are confused about what that is, you know, I think in Tamil, we say pakkuvam, right? He has a lot of pakkuvam, it means more mature, right?
Pakkuvam.
Yeah, pakkuvam. So avi pakkuvam means one who's not mature, because here, that's what this is Bhagavan saying that, you know, in this janmam, hantasmin, the one janmam which you have taken birth, right? He says, mam drashtami, you will not be able to see me. So that's why if you say it's na mam, also it's okay. You know, I don't know ablo technical Sanskrit, but it's saying no, you will not be able to see me, is what he's saying there. And he says, because avi pakvam, because you're not mature enough. So that's why that word is pakva. Even if it's written the way it is written, the word is avi pakva there. Okay.
Rajesh, a quick question. Sadhuhun solnuma, sadhu solnuma அந்த இடத்துல?
Sadhuhu, because you're pausing there, right?
Okay.
Yeah, sadhuhu. Okay, so we'll just switch. Anandji, you can be a student. Jayashree, you can be a student. Sat sevaya dheergaya te, comma, jata mai dhrida matihi, hitva vadhyam imam, if you want to break it, hitva vadhyam imam lokam, comma, ganta mach janatamasi, shorty. Sat sevaya dheergaya te, jata mai dhrida matihi, hitva vadhyam imam lokam gantamajjanatamasi.
Tatsevaya dheerkayate jada mai drida madihi hitva vadyam imam lokam janatamasi. Satsevaya dheerkayate jada mai drida madihi hitva vadyam imam lokam janatamasi.
Anandji, the first line, say, you said say vaya, say vaya.
Oh, sorry. Sevaya.
Yeah.
Sevaya. Okay.
And second line, Rajesh, sorry, is it Ganda or Handa?
Ganta, ga, first ga.
Satsevaya dheergaya te jata mai dridamatihi hitva vadyamimam lokam gantamajjanatamasi. Satsevaya dheergaya te jata mai hridamatihi hitva vadyamimam lokam gantamajjanatamasi.
Matir mai nibadheyam, double the nibadheyam, comma, na vipadhyeta karhichit praja sarge nirodhepi, comma, smritischa madanugrahat, madanugrahat. Matirmai nibadheyam na vipadhyeta karhichit praja sarga nirodhepi smritischa madanugrahat.
Madirmayi nibadheyam na vipadedha karhichid praja sarga nirodhepi smridischa madanagrahat.
So the first line, vipadhye, dhya sound, vipadhyet.
Vibadhyeyam.
Detha. Na vipadhyeta.
Vibadhyeda. Vibadhyeda. Vipadyeda.
Yeah, it's like a ta and ya, right? Dya sound.
Vibadhyeta.
Vibadhyeta.
Dheta.
Yeah, dya. That Y sound has to come. Dya.
Madhirmayi nibadhyeyam na vibadhyeta karhichit prajasarga nirodhevi smridischa madanugrahat.
Matirmai nibadheyam na vipadyeta karhichit praja sarga nirodhepi smritischa madanugrahat. Matirmai nibadheyam na vipadyeta karhichit praja sarga nirodhepi smritischa madanugrahat.
Etavat uktvo pararama. One word. Uktvo pararama tan mahat. So you have a da and a bhu together in Sanskrit. So we'll break it. Tan mahat, comma. Next word starts with the bhu. Bhutam nabho. Lingam alingam ishwaram. 3 words if you want to break it. Lingam alingam ishwaram. Aham cha tasmai mahatam mahiyase, comma. Shirshnavanamam, 1 word. Shirshnavanamam vidadhenu kampitaha. Even that is 1 word. Etavad uktvo pararama tanmahat bhutam nabho lingamalinghamishwaram aham cha tasmai mahatam mahiyase shirshnavanamam vidadhenu kampitaha.
Etavadukto param ramatanmahad bhudam nabho lingamalinghamishwaram aham cha tasme mahatam mahiyase shirshnavanamam vidadhenu kampitaha. Etavadukto param ramatanmahad bhudam nabho lingamalinghamishwaram aham cha tasme mahatam mahiyase Shishnavanamam vidadhenu kampitaha.
Etavad uktvo pararama tanmahat bhutam nabho lingamalinghamishwaram aham cha tasmai mahatam mahiyase shishnavanamam vidadhenu kampitaha. Etavad uktvo pararama tanmahat bhutam nabho lingamalinghamishwaram aham cha tasmai mahatam mahiyase Shishnavanamam vidadhenu kampitaha.
Naman yanantasya. Okay, ya sound. Because namani anantasya becomes a ya. Naman yanantasya hata trapaf patan, comma. Guhyani bhadrani krithani chasmaran. All short knees. Gam paryatams tushtamana gatasprihaha, comma. Kalam pratikshan vimadho vimatsaraha. Namanyanantasya hatatrapah patan guhyani bhadrani kritani chasmaran gam paryatam stushtamana gatasprihaha kalam pratikshan vimado vimatsaraha.
Namanyanantasya hatatrapah padhan guhyani bhadrani kritani chasmaran gambaryadam tushtamanagadaspraha kalam pradikshan vimado vimalsaraha. Namanyanandasya hatatrapah padhan guhyani bhadrani kritani chasmaran gambaryadam tushtamanagadaspraha Kalam pradikshan vimadho vimalsaraha.
That Anandji, that's the 3rd line or whatever, 2nd line, first half, last word. Sprihaha. Because the visarga is also there. Sprihaha.
Sprihaha.
Yeah.
Sprihaha.
Namanyanantasya hatatrapah patan guhyani bhadrani kritani chasmaran gam paryatam stushtamanagataspruhaha kalam pratikshana vimoda vimatsaraha.
Vimado. I think and the pratikshan on the, I think you said a na or something there. That's why it didn't land. Pratikshan vimado.
Kalam pratikshan vimado vimatsaraha. Namanyanantasya hatatrapah patan guhyani bhadrani kritani chasmaran गां पर्यटं स्तुष्टमनागतस्पृहः कालं प्रतीक्षन् विमदो विमत्सरः
Evam Krishna Mater Brahman. You have double na there. Put a in, comma. Next word starts with a A. Asaktas Yamalatmanaha. This is one word. Asaktas Yamalatmanaha. Together. Kalaf Pradura Bhoot Kale, comma. Tadit Saudamani Yatha. Evam Krishna Mater Brahman. Asaktasyamalātmanah Kālah Prādurabhūt Kāle Tadit Saudāmani Yatha.
Evam Krishnamadir Brahman Asaktasyamalātmanah Kāla Prādhurabhūt Kāle Tadit Saudhamini Yadha. Evam Krishnamadir Brahman Asaktasyamalātmanah Kāla Prādhurabhūt Kāle Tadit Saudhamini Yadha.
Saudamani, last word.
Saudhamini.
Mani.
Saudhamani.
Yeah, Saudamani.
Oh, okay, mine is me.
Yeah.
एवं कृष्णमतेर्ब्रह्मन् असक्तस्यामलात्मनः कालः प्रादुरभूत्काले तडित्सौदामनी यथा एवं कृष्णमतेर्ब्रह्मन् असक्तस्यामलात्मनः कालः प्रादुरभूत्काले तडित्सौदामनी यथा
Prayujyamane Maitam, comma, Shuddham Bhagavatīm Tanum Ārabdha Karma Nirvāno, comma, Nyapatat Pancha Bhautikah. Prayujyamane Maitam Shuddham Bhagavatīm Tanum Ārabdha Karma Nirvāno Nyapatat Pancha Bhautikah.
Prayujyamane Maitam Shuddham Bhagavatīm Tanum Ārabdha Karma Nirvāno Nyapatat Pancha Bhautikah. Prayujyamane Maitam Shuddham Bhagavatīm Tanum Ārabdha Karma Nirvāno Nyapatat Pancha Bhautikah.
प्रयुज्यमाने मयितां शुद्धां भागवतीं तनुम् आरब्धकर्मनिर्वाणो न्यपतत्पाञ्चभौतिकः प्रयुज्यमाने मयितां शुद्धां भागवतीं तनुम् आरब्धकर्मनिर्वाणो न्यपतत्पाञ्चभौतिकः.
This just for reference. This is the place where he's saying that I got the Thanum body of which is fit for purpose for a Bhagavata. So I got a very pure body of a Bhagavata because is in that previous Janmam is getting over, because of which I gave up the body which is made up of the 5 elements. So I no longer have a material body. And now he's immediately got a spiritual body in the previous life when he dies or when his life comes to an end. Kalpanta idamadaya, comma, Shayane Bhasyudhanvatah. That's together because Shayane Ambasi and Udanvatah. But anyway, one word. Shayane Bhasyudhanvatah. Shishayishyor Anupranam. If you want to break that. Shishayishyor Anupranam, comma. Vibhishentaraham Vibhoho. Again, that word will be together. Kalpanta idamadaya Shayane Bhasyudhanvatah Shishayishyor Anupranam Vibhishentaraham Vibhoho.
Kalpanta idamadhaya Shayane Mabhasyu. Sorry. Kalpanta idamadhaya Shayane Mabhasyu Sudhanvatah Shishayishoranupranam Vivashendaraham Vibho.
The first line, Anandji, the Shayane Ambasyu is the word, but that S symbol is coming there, right? So that's why you'll have to kind of say it in one flow. Shayane Bhasyudhanvatah.
Shayane Mabhyu.
So not A. Shayane Bhasyu.
Shayane Bhasyu.
Yeah, Shayane Bhasyu.
Shayane Bhasyu.
Yeah, correct.
Shayane Bhasyu Sudhanvatah शयानेऽम्भस्युधन्नतः शिशईशोरनुप्राणम्. How do you say that?
I think you spend to say that whole thing again. I think you lost the tune a little bit there. That's why. Shisha Ishyor Anupranam. That word.
शिशईशोरनुप्राणम् विवशेन्दरहं विभो.
Vibho. You can try it one more time. Just say from the first line, maybe. Yeah.
कल्पान्तहितमाधाय शयने भस्युदनन्वतः शिशईक्षोरनुप्राणम् विवशेन्दरहं विभोः.
Yeah, that I think the first line you were adding one extra letter towards the end. It's Shayane Bhasyudhanvatah.
Shayane Bhasyudhanvatah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Rajesh, the second line la Shisha Yishor irukku. When you are saying it sounds like Shisha Yishyor.
Mom, I was, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Shisha Ishor, correct. No ish there. Shisha Ishor Anupranam. Yeah.
Shisha Yishor.
Yeah. Shisha Ishor Anupranam. Yeah.
Kalpanta idamadaya shayanem bhasyudhanvatah Shisha Ishor Anupranam Vivishentaraham Vibhoho Kalpanta idamadaya shayanem bhasyudhanvatah Shisha Ishor Anupranam Vivishentaraham Vibhoho.
Sahasra Yuga Paryante, comma, Uthayedam Sisrikshatah Marichi Mishra Rishayah, comma, Pranebhyoham, one word, Pranebhyoham cha Jagnire. Next few stanzas we just do one time, so we'll finish this today. Sahasra Yuga Paryante Uthayedam Sisrikshatah Marichi Mishra Rishayah Pranebhyoham cha Jagnire.
Sahasrayugaparyante uddhayedam sisrakshataha marichi mukhya rishayah pranebhyoham cha jagnire.
Is it Paryant or Paryante?
Paryante.
Oh, என்னோடல Paryant போட்டிருக்கு.
பர்யந்தன்னு இருக்கு இதுல.
Okay, Paryante. Just change it to Paryante.
Sahasrayuga Paryante utathaayedam sisrikshatah marichimishra rishayah pranebhyoham cha jaggire.
You see the first line, just one time is enough. First line வந்து Uthayedam.
Uthayedam. Okay, நான் வேற மாதிரி சொன்னேன். Okay, thank you.
The second line, is it Mariji Misra or Mariji Mukhya?
Marichi Mishra.
Misra, okay.
I said mukhya.
Is it? Oh,
yeah, our book has Mukhya.
Okay, I thought it was Mishra. I heard. Antar Bahishcha Lokam Streen. So Lokam Streen, comma. Paryemya Skandita. You can't break that word. So Paryemya Skandita Brataha. Anugrahan Maha Vishnoho. So the ra that is there, put a visarga comma, Vishnoho. Next word starts with the A. Avighata Gatih Kvachite. Antarbahischa Lokam Streen Paryemya Skandita Brataha. Anugrahan Mahavishnoho Avighata Gatih Kvachite.
Antarbahiccha Lokam Streen Paryemya Skandita Brataha Anugrahan Mahavishnoho Avighata Gatih Kvachite.
Antarbahischa lokam streen paryemya skandita vratah anugrahan mahavishnoho avighata gatis kvachit.
Just in the first line, Paryemya.
Paryemya skandita vratah.
Yeah, correct.
Thank you.
Deva Dattam Imam Veenam, comma, Swara Brahma Vibhushitam Murchayitva Hari Katham, comma, Gayamanash Charamyaham. Deva Dattam Imam Veenam swara brahma vibhushitam murchayitva harikatham gayamanas-charamyaham.
देवदत्तामिमां वीणां स्वरब्रह्मविभूषितां मूर्छयित्वा हरिकथां गायमानश्चराम्यहम्
देवदत्तामिमां वीणां स्वरब्रह्मविभूषितां मूर्छयित्वा हरिकथां गायमानश्चराम्यहम्
Pragayatas swaviryani short e tirtha padaf priyashravaha ahuta ivame shigram comma darshanam yati chetasi short e pragahyata swaviryani tirtha padaf priyashravaha ahuta ivame shigram darshanam yati chetasi.
प्रगायत स्ववीर्याणि तीर्थपादः प्रियस्रवाः आहूत इव मे शीघ्रं दर्शनं यादि चेदसि
प्रगायतः स्ववीर्याणि तीर्थपादः प्रियश्रवाः आहूत इव मे शीघ्रं दर्शनं याति चेतसि
एतत् ध्यातुर चित्तानां कॉमा मात्रा स्पर्शेच्छया one word स्पर्शेच्छया मुहुः भव सिंधु प्लवो दृष्टो कॉमा हरि चर्यानुवर्णनम one word एतत् ध्यातुर चित्तानां मात्रा स्पर्शेच्छया मुहुः भव सिंधु प्लवो दृष्टो हरिचर्यानुवर्णनम्.
एतद्ध्यातुरचित्तानां मात्रा स्पर्शोच्छया मुहुः भवसिन्धुप्लवो दृष्टो हरिचर्यानुवर्णनम्.
And the first line matra sparshech. I think you said sparsho, sparshe.
मात्रा स्पर्शेश्चया मुहुः.
एतद्ध्यातुरचित्तानां मात्रा स्पर्शेच्छया मुहुः भवसिन्धुप्लवो दृष्टो हरिचर्यानुवर्णनम्.
Yamadhibhir yoga pathaihi, comma kama lobha hato muhuhu mukunda sevaya yadvat. So there's a it and a tha there. First you put a it and a comma, yadvat, comma. Next word, tatha, it will start. Tatha atmadha, but it comes with a double S symbol, right? So tatatmadha, it will go together as one word. Tatatmadha na shamyati, short e. Yamadibhir yoga pathaihi kamalobhato muhuhu mukunda sevaya yadvat tatatmadha na shamyati.
यमादिभिर्योगपदेः कामालोभहतो मुहुः मुकुन्दसेवया यद्दद् तथात्माधा न शाम्यति.
I think the first line lobha, you said I think lobha in the first line.
Yeah. Kamalobhahado muhuः.
Kama, sorry, that's where. Kama lobha.
कामलोभहतो मुहुः.
यमादिभिर्योगपथैः कामलोभहतो मुहुः मुकुन्दसेवया यद्वत् तथात्माधा न शाम्यति.
Sarvam. Next word, I'm going to break it into three if you want. Tad idam akyatam, if you want to break it. You can say it together. Tad idam akyatam as one word, or tad idam akyatam, comma. Yat prishtoham tvaya nagha. Janma karma rahasyam me, comma. Bhavatash chatma toshanam. Sarvam tad idam akyatam. Yat prishtoham tvaya nagha janma karma rahasyam me bhavataschatma toshanam.
सर्वतदिदमाख्यातं यत् पृष्टोऽहं त्वया नघ जन्म कर्म रहस्यं मे भवतश्चात्मतोषणम्.
सर्वं तदिदमाख्यातं यत्पृष्टोऽहं त्वया नघ जन्म कर्म रहस्यं मे भवतश्चात्मतोषणम्.
Suta Vacha Evam Sambhashya Bhagavan, put a in, there's a double na there, put a in, comma, Narado Vasavi Sutam Amantrya Veenam Ranayan, comma, Yayau Yadruchiko Munihi. I'm going to do two times here, 5 minutes left. Sutam Vacha Evam Sambhashya Bhagavan Narado Vasavi Sutam Amantrya Veenam Ranayan Yayau Yadruchiko Munihi.
Sudavacha evam sambhashya bhagavan narado vasavi sudam amandre veenam ranayan yayo yadrashiko munihi. Sudavacha evam sambhashya bhagavan narado vasavi sudam amandre veenam ranayan yayo yadrashiko munihi.
Suto vacha evam sambhashya bhagavan narado vasavi sutam amantravinam ranayan yayau yadrichiko munihi. Suto vacha evam sambhashya bhagavan narado vasavi sutam amantravinam ranayan yayau yadrichiko munihi.
Aho Devarshir Dhanyoyam, comma, so two ears, Devarshir Dhanyoyam, comma, Yat Kirtim Sharanga Dhanvanaha, Gayan Madhyan Nidham Tantriya, so half in half Tantriya, comma, Ramayatyaturam Jagat. Aho Devarshir Dhanyoyam, Yat Kirtim Sharanga Dhanvanaha, Gayan Madhyan Nidham Tantriya Ramayatyaturam Jagat.
Aho devarshidhanyoyam yat kirtim shargadhanvanaha gayan madhyannidam tantriya ramayatyaduram jagad. Aho devarshidhanyoyam yat kirtim shargadhanvanaha gayan madhyanidam tantriya ramayatyaduram jagad.
Aho devarshidhanyoyam yatkirtim shangadhanvanaha gayan madhyannidam tantriya ramayatyaturam jagat.
Issue in the first line, couple of places the ir sound is not coming. Devarshir Dhanyoyam and then Sharanga Dhanvanaha.
Sharngadhan. Yeah,
Ir
okay.
sound, ir
yeah.
sound again there. Sharanga.
Okay. Aho devarshidhanyoyam yatkirtim shangadhanvanaha gayan madhyannidam tantriya ramayatyaturam jagat.
Rajesh, I have a question. Sorry, we have to go back to 30 sloka. The
30?
last part, 30.
Okay.
The last part, is it Vivashendaraham or is it Vivishendaraham?
Vivishentaraham.
So Vivi, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Iti Srimad Bhagavate Mahapurane Paramahamsyam Samhitayam Pratamaskande Vyasa Narada Sambhade Shashtodhyayah. Shri Hare Namaha, Shri Hare Namaha, Shri Hare Namaha, Gopika Jeevana Smaranam, Govinda Govinda, Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai, Kahena Vacha Manasendriyarva Buddhyatmana Va Prakrite Swabhavat, Karomi Yatyat Sakalam Parasmai Narayanayeti Samarpayami. Everyone, so finish 6. So what I'll do is I'll just put like blocks of 20 or something like that. I'll just distribute and just put, each of you can pick one, and next class we'll just do a review from 1 to 6. Okay, that's what we'll do.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Rajesh.
Rajesh. Have a good
Thank you,
evening.
Rajesh.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Bye.